Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the podcast for healthcare moms who want to break free from limiting beliefs, build unshakable confidence, and step into the truest expression of themselves, both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Corey Wynn. I'm a wife, a mom, a doctor of physical therapy, and a peak performance strategist. Working with highly motivated women to transform their lives and inspire those around them is what truly lights my soul on fire. Each episode, whether it's a solo session filled with actionable strategies or an inspiring interview with a woman who has overcome significant obstacles, is designed to leave you feeling worthy and confident in the value you have to offer everyone around you. I hope you walk away empowered and ready to take that next step to lead your life on purpose. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hey guys, I wanted to pop in real quick with a special offer today. Everything that I do here at Empower Her Radio and in my private coaching practice, Elevate and Empower, is to empower and equip women, specifically moms, with everything that they could possibly need to live their dream life. So I want to give you my dream life blueprint today that can help you get started with that. Just head to corywynn.com/dreamlifeblueprint and you can find that in the show notes. All right, now back to today's show. Just call her a bitch and move on. I'm sure that might trigger some of you. I'm sure that might make you wonder what in the world I'm going to be talking about today. But to this day, I can still remember the look on my mother's face as she looked at my dad and said, "Bobby." I was 9 years old and I was being bullied mercilessly on the playground. And my dad finally looked at me one day after hugging me and telling me that I was beautiful and that all of the things that the people were saying were not true. And he said, "Just call her a bitch and move on." And I can look back in my life now and see how that has resonated with me and my life in so many different ways. But it's not in the way that you might think. I'm not talking about forging ahead and competing with every person in your life and cutting them down as they go and just not caring what happens on the way. It's been a way for me to take the advice that my father gave me for playground bullies to kick fear in the face and stop letting limiting beliefs or what other people have said in my life determine my future and my path. I'm sure that many of you have been bullied as a kid, or you grew up knowing what everybody else wanted for you, but maybe that didn't feel good to you. And some of you may even know my story. I grew up middle class in the South, and I went to cotillion, and life revolved around Emily Post's etiquette. And I knew every day exactly how I should dress and should act and how I should be, and definitely also what I should not be. And I carried that with me every day of my life and became this person at a very young age who knew that if I was perfect in every way, then everything would be okay. That if I made the right grades, if I acted the certain way, if I presented myself in this certain way, I would be successful. I would be okay. And I followed through and I checked all the boxes and I went to school and I went to graduate school. But even as a younger person, like going back to high school, I was deathly afraid to ask for help. And I remember my sophomore year chemistry teacher called my mom. Let me tell you, at 16 years old, I thought, how mortifying. But she knew that my mom was in the school system. She knew that she would care. And she said, if Corey doesn't get this, she's going to fail my class. So I had a chemistry tutor over Christmas break. I figured it out and I moved forward. And then even in college, I still was so desperately afraid of asking for help. I could do it on my own. I could forge ahead on my own. I was failing organic chemistry absolutely miserably. I have never made such terrible grades in my whole life. I mean, we're talking 30s and 40s on exams, and I have never studied for anything so much in my life. But I was afraid. I was afraid to ask for help. What would people think of me? What would they say? Oh, she doesn't have it all together. She needed help. She needed a tutor. And I continued to carry that with me throughout my life. I pushed forward, I forged ahead, and I knew deep in my soul at the time, I couldn't count on anyone but myself. So if I was going to get it done, if I was going to get the job, if I was going to get the degree, I had to do it on my own to prove to myself and everyone else that I had it all together and that I didn't need their help. As I'm sure many of you can also relate, that continued into relationships, that continued into working relationships, that continued into my job, my life, my ability to be a wife and a mom. And as I have unlearned some of these habits and thoughts over the years, that advice from my dad has continued to stay with me, but in such a different way. I think so many of us have a wounded feminine or have so much wounding around having other women as friends because we're taught at a young age to compete, to compare, to judge. And I remember being a younger child and, as a tween and a teen and looking around and hearing the judgment of everyone around me about how other women looked and how other women dressed and how other women acted and how it was, oh my gosh, what were they thinking? Oh, this. And it was all so incredibly negative. And I internalized so much of that. Well, that's not how I should look, and that's not how I should dress, and that's not how I should act. And created this box for myself and my life of, well, I have to stay in this lane and I better not deviate from any part of it, or this house of cards that I have perfectly constructed is going to fall absolutely to pieces. And as you can imagine, that also creates a significant amount of anxiety. If you have to feel like you have to be in control all the time for the world to keep spinning around you, can you even breathe? Can you even think outside the box? What would happen if that gripping energy that held me for so long? And I remember my mom asked me not too long ago, she said, "Why didn't you tell us that your anxiety was so bad when you were growing up?" And I didn't really have an answer for her. I don't know that I knew at the time that that's what was happening. I don't know that I knew that something could be done about it. But by and large, I felt like I had to figure it out on my own. And I want to be clear, my parents didn't foster that. That was something that I had internalized that, well, I can't ask for help, so something must be wrong with me, and I just have to figure this out on my own and get over it. And as I've grown through being a physical therapist and being a women's empowerment coach, it takes a lot of healing to address feeling like you need to be in control all the time, to be a recovering perfectionist. And it's taken learning how to trust myself again. Because when you live in a state of anxiety, when you feel like you have to control everything all the time, you also live with a significant amount of self doubt. You question every decision you've ever made. You ask for advice on all sides from all people. And about 3 months ago, I remember listening to an interview with Amberly Lago, and she said, "Seek counsel, not opinion." And that kind of blew the top off of everything that I had heard for so long, because you hear, don't take advice from people you don't want to trade places with. Don't take advice from people who aren't paying your bills. But what she said that day, I feel like resonated with me and so many women who I serve, in that everyone in your life is going to have an opinion about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how you should act, what you should be, the lane you should follow in your life. And many of those people may be very well meaning. They may have gone through some sort of trauma that they don't want you to go through. They may have had a life experience that they would hope that you don't have to also experience. And there's a lot of people who are also just jealous or envious that you are taking the next step in your life, and they want to tear you down. And until you recognize those two distinct, separate pieces of advice, David Ray also said in a podcast that I listened to not too long ago that the people who are going where you're going are not going to judge you. The people who are going to judge you are the people who essentially are envious or jealous of where you're going, because the people who have been where you're going are going to reach down and hold out their hand and say, "Come on, let's go. This is how I did it. Let's do it together." And when you think about life, and I know I just recently was offered a collaboration with another woman in a coaching practice that I'm in. And I remember just thinking just yesterday how incredibly grateful I am to now surround myself with women who want to build me up, who want to um, show people in their networks what I do and help me collaborate with them as well. And when you find yourself in a space where the people around you truly want you to win, it's such a different energy. It's such a different space. And so I hope where I'm kind of going today is that if you look around in your life and the people, places, and things that you've surrounded yourself with, and this isn't right or wrong, just present tense life, are not serving where you're going, are not building you up in your dreams, are leaving you feeling unworthy, a not enoughness, a self doubt, remove them from your life. And the hardest thing to do is when that's family or when that's friends. And what I hope to inspire you with today is that you are the most important person in your life. Your energy, your thoughts, your feelings, your worth is the most important. And anything in your life that judges you, that pushes you to make a different decision or makes you wrong, and that number one person could be you. So when I say call her a bitch and move on, that is me talking to the opinion on my shoulder that says, "You're not enough. You can't do that. You can't write a book. Who would read it? You can't launch a podcast. Who would listen? Who would want coaching from you?" Call her a bitch and move on. And I think I thank my father in my head every day that I hear those negative voices or hear those negative opinions and immediately think, call her a bitch and move on. Because something that I've always, admired about my father is that he has this innate sense of self. He is proud of himself for the things that he's accomplished. He knows his worth without needing external validation from anywhere else. And I grew up watching that and wanting to emulate that so badly. And I've realized as I've gotten older, as I've surrounded myself with other women who are on that same journey and on that same path, it is so much easier. So when you find yourself thinking, I desire for more, I, this job is sucking my soul away. And that voice that says, but it's what you went to school for. You need to stay in your lane. It's secure. You have benefits. Call her a bitch and move on. Let your body think, let your body feel, let your mind wonder, what if? What if I quit my job? What if we moved across the country? What if it really was possible to have that dream house? Many of you know the story that we, well, I grew up in North Carolina. We moved to Washington State for several years. Now we're in Colorado, and we had planned to rent for several years. Well, our landlord decided that he wanted to sell our house. And we were in panic mode all of a sudden. Should we buy? Should we move? What do we do? We had two big dogs. Well, we have two big dogs, and we couldn't find another place that would allow them. And my daughter's in tears, thinking, oh my gosh, are you going to make us get rid of our dogs? I'm like, no, honey, that's not an option. So I sat down one day after we had looked at investment properties, after we had looked at properties that, oh, wow, needed to be flipped and maybe bulldozed. I mean, all of the things. And I sat in my heart and I knew that what we wanted was to live in the neighborhood where my daughter goes to school, to stay in this district because it's an excellent district, and that something had to come of it, that's what we desired. We asked one more builder and the stars aligned immediately. Yes, you qualify. Yes, here's the house. Yes, here's the model. Yes, we're going to be closing on that house in November. And I tell you this story because we hear all the time that we should be content with where we are. We should be happy with what we have. We should be grateful. And every minute of every day, I try to remember how grateful I am that I have a roof over my head, that I have food on the table, that we have heat and air conditioning. All of our needs are currently met. We do not need anything else. And that's the truth. We're fully safe, we're fully okay right where we are. And I no longer make myself wrong for wanting more, for wanting a nicer house, for wanting nicer things, for wanting to travel first class, for wanting nice clothes, for wanting to be able to say yes to my daughter's activities, new cars, all the things. My whole life, I have heard, both from myself and people around me, you should just be happy with what you have. You don't need that. No, I don't. I don't need that. And I want you to hear me today that your desires are not only valid, you are worthy of them, and they would not be in your mind if they were not possible. You may want to be an astronaut. You may want to be an Olympian. You may want to quit your job and be a stay at home mom. Who cares? It doesn't matter. If you want it and it's a desire in your heart, go for it. Don't make yourself wrong for it. And anyone and everyone, including the voice in your head that says, you're not worthy, you can't do that, that's crazy. Been there, done that. Call her a bitch and move on. And move on. Because the moment that you make that decision, things start to fall into place. Ideas open up, collaboration with other people. I've been a PT for 14 years. When I went to PT school, I was going to do that. I was going to have a secure job. I was going to have a 401k, and I was going to do that until I retired at 65. Well, then I married somebody who's 10 years older than me. And I thought, I don't want to retire at 65. I want to retire at 55. And then I had a kiddo who, at 6 months old, was crawling. And I took her to daycare and was so excited to tell the daycare teacher that she was crawling. And she said, "Oh, yeah, she did that yesterday," and totally dismissed me. And I thought, I am missing so much. I don't want this for my life anymore. And that was the first step of beginning and looking and going, what else can I do? Could I work part time? Could I do something else? Never in a million years, 14 years ago, would I have thought that I would have my own podcast and be talking about writing a book and be coaching high performing women to gain clarity in their life and push for their amazing goals. But it was that thought of no longer making myself wrong for wanting more that opened up so many doors for me. So I want to leave you today with a desire and a hope that if you are feeling stuck in your life, if you feel like you have checked all the boxes and done all the things that you were supposed to do, and you wake up one morning and you look around like I did and you think, is this it? Is this what I'm going to do every day? Is this what I'm going to do with my life? Are you surviving? Are you just getting through the day to day and you can't wait to go to bed at night, but you dread starting it again the next morning? I hear you, and I'm here for you. Your desires are not wrong. Your dreams are not unattainable. And taking a leap of faith in yourself, whether that means just looking at new jobs, talking to your partner about what you guys think you could do, going out on a limb and quitting your job, I don't know. Any and all of my clients have done all of those things. You may have gone to school for something that you thought would be your passion, and you wake up one morning and go, I hate this. This is sucking my soul away. You're not wrong. Don't make yourself wrong for feeling that way. Just sit here for a minute and think, if there were no consequences or limitations, what would my dream life look like? Start there. Start writing it down. And remember, the moment that that voice comes inside your head that says, oh, I could never do that. Who would listen to me? I'm not capable. Call her a bitch and move on and start again. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If this episode resonated with you, I would truly appreciate a 5-star review. Your feedback is so important to me. Additionally, if today's topics have sparked a desire for more in your life and you're unsure about the next step, I have a special offer for you. I'm offering a free call to explore how my high-level coaching and strategizing can help you gain clarity on your goals, prioritize what is most important to you, and refocus on yourself in the process. Simply head over to coreyWynn.com/free call. That's www.coreyWynn.com/free call. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.